Welcome back. It's Tuesday night. The Avengers are here on the final whistle. Man, are y'all ready? We got a action-packed show. Below me, I got the man, Chris James.
What's up? What's up? Let's get it rolling, baby.
Dan's big brother. And next to him, Mr. Ty Hayes with all the knowledge on all the channels all the time. Mr. Hayes.
Do what I can. I do what I can.
All around the table.
Under the table. And the man is still maybe running a brothel under the table at One Rose Towers, Mr. Matt Cat Cadell.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah.
On the final whistle with the crew. Hit that like, subscribe button.
That's right. And above him, one and only, the enforcer of the show, one Lucien
Debo.
What's happening, y'all? Y'all ready to get it in? It's going to be a fun
Let's go.
show. It's going to be exciting.
and the man that keeps us all together, keeps all the ladies rocking at the local nursing homes, got all the moves, all the recruiting info, the one and only Dan James.
AKA the dancing machine.
Oh, show the move.
Hello.
Look, the Avengers are glad to be back here on a Tuesday night to give you all the Alabama stuff you know and love. But first, real quick, we got to get a little bit of love to the sponsors of the show. I'm going to let our man Matt take over.
Yes, speaking of taking over, if you want your businesses to take over, hit up Workspace Solutions at workspacepros.com. If you're looking to take your business digital online marketing presence to new heights, go to workspacepros.com. That's Workspace Solutions at workspacepros.com. Back to you, Mr. Petty.
All right, man. Yeah, there we go. If you want your stuff, that's it. Go to workspacepros.com. But, man, without further ado, let's get the show rolling. First big topic of the night, and we'll start in the first way I introduced everybody, and then we'll go reverse on the next one. But, man, can anybody dethrone Alabama? Who is the biggest threat to end the Alabama dominance? Chris.
It won't last. I mean, it won't. I don't think Alabama's dominance will be dethroned because it was a like the fastest relay team in the 4x1 when Jamaica had Usain Bolt and those guys. Then you pass it to one, and he's like, dog, you thought it was gonna slow down, but they just kept on and blowing. That's how I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the passing of the baton. But let's not fool ourselves. Georgia's still gonna be a player. As long as Kirby Smart is there at Georgia, they're gonna be a player. You have Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, he's doing good things there. You have Sark at Texas, who's an offensive wizard, and then you still have Oklahoma. I mean, who's a blue blood. So I think those four right there will be your perennial guys, teams that will present Bama's biggest challenge. And let's not fool ourselves. I mean, LSU they pop around for now and then in Tennessee, but if I had to name one, it would probably be Georgia.
Man, that's I mean, it's kind of hard to deny Georgia right now. 3 years in a row they haven't lost a regular season game, so it seems like they're the leader in the clubhouse. Let's move over to Ty. You got anybody else?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna echo on what he said at first, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of a different approach. Georgia, if you're asking about the team that is in the best place to kind of take that baton, that's not named Alabama, it would be Georgia. They've done a great job. I see Jamie, you in the comments, shout out for being here. You're saying Ohio State. Ohio State's got to get over the hump that is Michigan. Remember, Ryan Day didn't beat Harbaugh last year. In fact, he didn't even lose to Harbaugh last year. He lost to Sharon Moore. And not to say that Sharon Moore is not a great coach. I have a lot of faith in him. I think Michigan's going to be just fine. But point being, you're the head coach. And you lost to the team without their head coach with all the distractions. But more poignantly, gentlemen, what is the biggest threat to Alabama's dominance? I don't think it's any one team. I think it's the changing landscape of college football that will make it even more difficult for any one team to do what Alabama did.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a principled argument that we will see Georgia be dominant. We will see Bama continue to be in the conversation. But I don't think it's going to look the way it did under Nick Saban, and that's because of the ever-changing landscapes of college football.
Great point.
Wow, very, very solid point. I tend to agree, man. I think we're, the era of Saban running it for 15 years is going to be hard to replicate from anybody. I think we're going to see, and with all the changing landscape with NIL and the portal, I mean, parity is going to be, I think it's going to be par for the course, but I still think we may have teams with several year runs. Matt, I know you're kind of got your head in the clouds trying to think of the days of the Rose Tower brothel and how you can turn that into a massage parlor now instead. But do you think anybody can take that dominance away from Alabama?
There are potential threats, like my main man Chris mentioned, Georgia, some Ole Miss, and the way Ty mentioned the landscape of college football. But I think the biggest threat is the one within. I think Alabama could be their biggest threat to them dethroning themselves. If they keep the Lake mentality, stay hungry, embrace what DeBoer is doing, you got a lot of veteran guys that are looking to prove themselves. I think they can contain and continue this momentum, this dominance under DeBoer and have it a new look of the Bama dominance in this change of college football landscape. We got college expansion, all those things. So I think Alabama would be their biggest threat if they want to be dethroned. I think it would be themselves, coming out lackluster, not being focused, not executing, just not being dominant. So I think if Alabama does all those things, are dominant and executing, not overlooking opponents, I think they can continue to roll on.
I agree. And a man who is never short of opinions, especially when they come to Tide dominance, one Mr. Lucine.
Dethroning is a thing that doesn't ever really happen. What happens is the king decides not to be the king anymore. And if you wish to be a king, you have to act like a king. And there can be no doubt. So like Matt said, the only enemy is actually within, because there is a process that has been instated and instilled in this program for decades. Can anyone dethrone Bama? That shouldn't even be the question. The question should be, can these new kids reestablish the standard? And if they do that, this question that we just got asked, guys, I'm sorry, it's irrelevant, because I think in this program, under this new leadership, under all these coaches, I don't see a threat. What I see is them adding more teams to an already dominant conference to really make and break down the enemies, basically. So it's not just going to be Alabama dominating the SEC. It's going to be Alabama dominating the whole entire South, because you're going to keep adding teams and making a super conference, and Bama's still going to be Bama regardless of what they keep doing. We have a process. It's been instilled, and it's still going to be there regardless of what anybody says, because it's obviously still there. And once we get on the field, we're going to really show everybody that dethroning us is pretty much like believing that there's dragons still living.
The House of Bama.
The House of Bama. The House of Black. So,
Petty.
Yeah.
On your question, I was thinking we were talking about the SEC as far as dethroning, but the crazy thing about it, even with your answers, it's still all signs still point towards the SEC. That's where the road leads to the SEC. And
that's the only teams. That's the only teams that have a realistic chance of dethroning Bama. Look, these other teams have a year or two where they'll be hot, but Ohio State, they've got to prove it in their own conference first. They haven't got past Michigan in a while, so we got to get past the SEC before we can think about these other teams. But look, from a man who obviously don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, Mr. Luke, to a man that don't give a piss about nothing but impressing them ladies at the old ladies club, Dan. Who is the biggest threat to Alabama?
I don't know what it is with me and the old ladies, but listen, I want to echo what Ty and Matt said. It's a couple of things. You got the changing landscape of college football. With NIL. Conference realignment, things like that. Then us continuing the process. We it's like Lucian said. You got to act like a king. You know what I'm saying? And now the king, which was Nick Saban, stepped down. So now the people are feeling like Kirby Smart. He's the prince. He's he should be the heir apparent. But you know what I'm saying? We still have the blueprint. He has a copy of the blueprint, but we have the original blueprint. It's still in Tuscaloosa. It's just, we put a new engine on it. So I think, the biggest threat will be ourselves, but no doubt Georgia is in prime position, to capitalize. They're going to do it. They have to strike within the next 2 seasons, So I think, in short, the biggest threat to Alabama is Alabama themselves.
Man, it's hard to argue that with the talent on hand and what we've seen over the past 15 years. Matt, you got something to add?
I was going to ask you this question. Who do you think is the biggest threat to dethrone you from the Parlor Kingdom? House of Parlor.
It just depends on if we can get Rose Towers up and going.
Peyton Thorny.
Peyton Thorny.
Brian Harsin.
Biggest threat. If I had to say the biggest threat, so we got to answer, because I agree with Ty. I think there's going to be a lot of parity, and I agree with everybody else. I think Alabama is going to be at the top of that parity poll for a lot of years, always kind of in the fight. But I don't know. I got a list, and I'm going to give an answer. So is it, I don't know, once 2 strangers climbed up? No Smoggy Smog and no threat on Rocky Top. Maybe dun, 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 dun. Hold that. No, they can't play defense in the swamp. Are you ready? Nah, not yet. Who's that coming down the track? It's a drunk redneck in the nah. It's guys. It's deep in the heart of Texas. Those guys got the money. They got the want. And they're the opposite of A&M. See, A&M is given this premise that you can spend all this money and they just screw it up and they're a weird cult. But on the flip side, man, Texas has proven, hell, they just stole. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to baseball. Texas A&M was playing in the College World Series Championship, and Texas just went in and stole their coach while it was happening. What everything Texas A&M wants to be, Texas is. Texas has got the money. They've got the chip on their shoulder. I was listening to another show earlier, and when Texas played Arkansas a few years back, Arkansas popped them. And Texas Sark knew they were coming into the league, and it was kind of one of those aha moments. Okay, we got to have some different dudes if we're going to play in this league. And they went and got one of the best offensive lines in the country. I don't know, man. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I do think Texas is the biggest threat to do it in the long run. I think Georgia is going to eventually Georgia and go back to who they usually are. But it's hard to deny what they've done the last few years. So, Georgia's up there, but my pick is Texas on the biggest threat. Hey man. What? I don't have to say, man. You want a merman shirt? You wear a merman shirt. That's how
Prestige
I roll.
World.
Interesting thing about Texas is one of the biggest points of one of the biggest things they had was Bo Davis. I mean, you're talking about a team that, if I'm not mistaken, got just pushed around by Iowa State. And then Bo Davis is on the bus screaming at them saying, I didn't come here to be a loser. I'm a winner. He's gone now. He's gone now. And Sark is now having to deal with staff attrition. And it's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like.
Hey, and another thing, man, it's the fact that what people is kind of like shortchanging Bama is they don't realize that DeBoer is a doggone great game day coach. And that's gonna that right there, the job he did at what he's done everywhere.
Yeah.
And like we said, beat a tough Oregon team that everybody just knew Oregon was gonna win that second matchup.
Twice.
And to still come out and beat them the way they did. And he's 7-0 against Lanning and Sark and Riley. And like that man's a great game. And then you give him
yeah.
Like he was working out of a nice little 4-bedroom, two bath, house with a 2-car garage. Now you done gave him the keys to the doggone mansion.
That's it. and that's man, I think that's I think a good spot to flip. But no, man, it's exciting. We're on 7.5 weeks away from getting our answers to some,
Let's go.
It's almost
I
want to hear Justin's answer.
I want to ask
you got an answer?
Go ahead, Lou.
Go, Lou.
I want to ask you guys something real quick though.
Go for it.
If adding these teams in, looking at the schedule and what it could possibly be, everybody thinks it's going to work against Alabama. It's also working against everybody else too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is actually going to realize what it's like to play an Alabama schedule. And I don't think that they're going to be able to handle the week in, the week out, the knockout, drag out, every gut punch that the SEC is going to give out. These new teams aren't going to be ready for it. I don't think they are. And because it's not every week you're going to get like an off week, like, oh, we got Colorado State this week. Like, no, you got a Kentucky, you got a Missouri, you got some serious talent in the SEC. Florida might have a bad schedule, but they can still pop somebody. Oklahoma, like, I feel like everybody's so focused on the fact that we added these new teams, so they're going to have to play everybody too.
Yeah.
The more chin checks everybody gets during the season, that's going to wear down. It's not just Alabama punching you. You're going to have to get punched by Georgia. You're going to have to get punched by Texas. You're going to have to get punched by Oklahoma. You're going to have to get punched by Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, Arkansas. Like, you're getting punched every week, and I'm not sure all these teams are going to be ready to get hit like that every week. We are, because we're used to getting everybody's best game. That's how it's been for years, for decades. But for everybody to have to get hit in the face every weekend, that's what I'm excited for. Because if you can still stand after an SEC schedule, season, getting hit, then you a football team. Until that happens, I'm not worried.
That's why I have reservations with Georgia. Like, Georgia's no longer in the East. They have to go to Texas. They have to play a true SEC schedule. So
got to go to Bama. Got to go to Ole Miss.
They can't just rely on playing Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida, Valdosta State. You know what I'm saying? Like, their road has gotten a lot more difficult, in my opinion. So that's why I have reservations. That's all.
Yep.
I want to hear Justice. Where are you at, Justin?
Justin?
You know the van. You can't get the signal in the white van.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I think we've all kind of made it clear. Bama's going nowhere, and we're going to have a little bit of parity. But I hate to, man, I got to kind of turn the page to a little bit more of a somber note for anybody paying attention to the news in the last week. Man, bad news all the time, but when you hear about a young person losing their life tragically, and it looks like something of not their doing, not their fault, even hurts a little worse. But if you were living, unless you've been living under a rock, and I know the Crimson Nation hadn't, we lost Khyree Jackson this week, and through a car wreck. He was at his home, I believe, in Maryland. And man, I just want to give, especially our guys that played, and you guys that just pour your heart into the Crimson. I want to give y'all a chance to tell maybe some stories you remember about his playing days, or just some thoughts on it. Because man, you guys are always good to kind of shine some light on these sad moments. I'll start, Dan. Let's start with you. We'll go in the opposite direction this time, and man, let's just share some of your thoughts about Khyree.
Mute.
You muted, buddy.
Talk about Khyree as a player, man. When I remember, I think about his recruitment. He came from what's the college, Last Chance U, but one of the probably the most physical highlight tape that I've seen from a DB ever. You know, I told Khyree that the most physical highlight tape I ever seen. You know, it's tragic that, you know, he had his whole life ahead of him. But one message I want to get to everybody, you know, that's a moment of truth that we all have to realize. You know what I'm saying? It's a moment of truth. We all got to go there someday. So, you know, the message I want everyone to get from this, you know, be ready, because you never know when your time comes. You know, so, you know, make sure your house is in order, you know, and you have a good relationship with, you know, with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
But, you know, to Khyree as a player, man, he was one of my favorites. You know, even though he ended up transferred to Oregon, one of my favorite players of all time. I remember the opening game, you know, the big hit he had. You know, I thought we were bringing back the physicality, you know, to the defense. You know, but he kind of lost his spot during the Texas game. After the Texas game, he kind of got pulled and it went downhill from there. But, you know, a tremendous player. You know, I don't want that to go understated, but, you know, sad all around.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And well said, Dan, man. Very, very well said, brother. And absolutely hope you have your house in order, and mainly with the man upstairs. And because you never know, man, it's 1 second can change it all very, very quickly. Lou, man, that's never short for words. Got anything to say about Mr. Khyree?
Man, I think that I remember Khyree Jackson for being an amazing teammate. No matter what the situation was, whether he was playing, whether he was on the sideline, whether he was getting up, being the first one to go greet J-Mo after he scored a touchdown, that dude was always positive with his teammates. And you see that in the messages on these guys' social media about him and what happened. Like, they're all showing him love. And I think that's important, that sometimes that people don't realize that football is about a brotherhood, and you build relationships, and those last outside of, even if people leave the team. And it's a tragedy what happened. And, you know, none of us feel good about it. And, you know, best to his family, and prayers go out to everybody involved. But, you know, it's tough. He was an amazing young man from what I knew. And we're all just fortunate that he was at Alabama and he did his thing and he could perform. So it's just, it hurts, man. I don't know. It just hurts.
It's hard to have words in the moments, man. Like you said, it just hurts. You don't know what to say. There's no words, man. You lose a life tragically that young. But I want to flip it over, man. You guys, Matt and Chris, are always talking Bama sci-fi, man. That's something that runs deep. It's a brotherhood to you guys. You know what? You know, so in saying that, it's that brotherhood runs through not just the guys you played with, through every generation. So when, you know, it's like a teammate of yours when you lose a guy like that. So Matt, you know, coming from a former player, how does that hit you guys?
Man, you know, first, foremost, you know, it was just sad. You know, first I want to say prayers up to his family, his friends. Hope God gives them strength in this dark time. But, you know, I want to celebrate Khyree. You know, just the amazing kid that you guys alluded about him. You know, his journey from JUCO to get drafted by the 4th round by the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that just shows you what type of character, how he handles adversity, how he overcomes, what type of person he is. And you can see by the embrace, the love that he got from, you know, Terrion Arnold, as Lushan mentioned, and all the former players, Brian Branch. So, you know, I hate it for his family. You know, nobody wants to deal with, you know, death. And, you know, this is tough topics, but you know, I want to celebrate Khyree. He was a brother. I think we're fortunate enough to have him, you know, come in Tuscaloosa and compete in the defensive back role. But just the way he was a teammate when things weren't going his way, I mean, he was always, you know, cheering for his guys. And I think that's what meant so much to his brothers, his teammates, whether it's at Alabama or Oregon, and just his journey. The guy got it out the mud basically, and he had the life, you know, at his hands. And it's unfortunate that he was passed away. But like I said, prayers up to his family. Want to celebrate Khyree and all the great things that he did do. But like Dan said, you got to be ready. Make sure you got to have your house in order, because you never know when, you never know. So that's just my thoughts. But I want to celebrate Kyree's life, just his impact he had on so many people. Chris?
Yeah, man. It's a tough pill to swallow when you guys told me about what happened. I was at a loss for words, and it's just unfortunate, man. Just not only to him, but it was three players, three former players, college players, Division I players that passed away, and it's like when it's at the hands of someone else, that's why like that brings a light to like drunk driving. When you're kind of intoxicated or whatever it may be, or whatever situation may be, you're not only putting yourself at danger, but you're putting the lives of others at danger. And they were just minding, just out, enjoying each other, and somebody came and hit them head on from trying to switch lanes from the other side at a high rate of speed. So like just you have to be a defensive driver. You got to be, like not only drive for yourself, but drive for other people, because everybody, isn't fit to be behind the wheel. That's all I'm gonna say. So it's an unfortunate situation. But as a player, Khyree, man, he was one of my favorite. I remember Dan telling me about him. He said, "Hey, man, you heard about that Khyree Jackson kid? You got to check out his film." And I called Dan back probably 5 minutes later. It's like, man, I had never seen nothing like this from a 6'3" JUCO corner. I mean, I just knew he was going to come in and make an impact. And he was put in a tough spot in the in a championship game against Georgia when we lost both. We had both Armar Davis and Job down, and he was kind of thrown in the fire, at the last minute. So, I mean, but hey, he did his best, and he wore the crimson well, man. And I even followed him when he went to Oregon, and he was an all Pac 12 player out there. So he was a good player, and I just knew he was going to do great things with the Vikings. And this is a kid that had his whole life in front of him that was just snatched away. So, man, prayers to his family. And like Dan and Matt alluded to, like, you just have to, you never know when it's your time. You just have to be ready, be right with God. And like, it kind of shines a light on life. We can't, life can be gone like that at the snap of a finger. So you really can't take it for granted. You get what I'm saying? If you have family, you have loved ones, hug on them, let them know you have kids. Love your kids, man, because you never know. Because once somebody's gone, it's no more being able to, they're gone. So just love on your loved ones, man, and the people who matter the most and the things that matter the most. Just make sure you're giving your attention to those people, and those things, that matter. So just prayers up, man. Prayers up to the family.
Again, man, hearing from you guys is that played, had those connections. Yeah, I know it cuts a little deeper when it's your brotherhood on the field, but it for all of us that love the Crimson and love these kids, man, it just it's so hard to see. And Ty, man, you're as intimate with as deep as anybody is in the recruiting world. So it's like, these kids when they're sophomores almost. You got anything you'd like to add that these guys hadn't already said?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about Khyree, the football player. I'd just like to say something about Khyree, the person, because I think he embodies persistence. And I think persistence is a beautiful thing. Whenever you're talking about someone that exhibits that kind of persistence, you're talking about an individual that found their light. And I have the quote behind me for a reason. Whenever Khyree found his light, how many other people were able to then find their light? How many other people took inspiration? You're talking about a kid that went back to a deli, started working, and never lost sight, never lost hope. And so I think that it's incredibly inspirational. I think that we should, as much as we need to celebrate Khyree, the football player, Khyree, the person, has just as many lessons, if not more, than Khyree, the football player. And he was an incredible football player, made it to the NFL, achieved everything you could hope to achieve in the game. But Khyree, the football player, is only a subsect of who he is. And I think that the persistence that he embodied is something that's beautiful. It's something that's inspirational, and he found his light. And I'd love to find out how many people found theirs as a result of that.
Good Lord. Very well said, Ty. Very well said, man. That's nothing else to say on this, man. It's just our prayers got, look, if he did have his house in order, and we want to believe he did, we know he's okay right now. It's the family that's left behind, the friends that are left behind that are hurting right now. That, look, man, we know that in times we're going to go through struggles in this life, and you need people to lean on and know that there's something out there. But like you said, hopefully he was a light, and they got to see that light, and it affected them. So, man, just want to end it with prayers to the family and loved ones, prayers to the Bama Nation, prayers to, God, it's just a sad situation to all involved, man. I don't have anything else to add, but prayers to all, man. It's tough. Very sad. No way to segue after that. We usually like to have a little funny segue into the title towel. So I can't do something as funny tonight. So, man, I'm just going to let Matt tell us about one of our key sponsors.
Listen, our key sponsors, Title Towel, everybody. We're going to try to rev things back up and enjoy the rest of the show. For Khyree Jackson, go to Title Towel, get your Alabama Crimson Title Towel at wetwillsports.com. Use the promo code STANDARD, that's TANDARD, and get your Title Towel and wave it like a helicopter in Tuscaloosa when them Bulldogs or the Mutts come to Tuscaloosa this September. It's exciting. I'm so excited for football season to finally get here, and all the talk. We can finally see who proves it on the field. Back to you, Petty.
Speaking of talk, I can't believe I'm about to utter this question after the 15 years of college football I've witnessed. Is Alabama better off without Nick Saban? Ooh. I feel like the internet may break and somebody may shoot me from afar after making that comment. Luckily, I have my merman shirt on to protect me. God, I don't even know where to get Chris. Let's go back. I'll start with you, and we'll end it with the smarter, the prettier, the James. How do I say that? I know I'm gonna try to get a fight.
He's the more mentally challenged of the James.
No, okay, all right. I'm gonna start with a James. It's gonna be a James sandwich.
All in one.
How is that a James sandwich? You're skipping me.
Because bread. You're in the middle.
Look at the order.
I can't see the order. Justin's got this thing where he's doing the spotlight, so I can't tell the order.
Hey,
it's the Jameses are beginning and end, right?
Yeah.
No.
You're in the middle. You're like the lettuce.
Hey,
you can sit there lettuce until it's your turn.
Dan is the piece of bread that nobody eats. Everybody touches, but nobody wants.
The end piece?
He's the butt end.
He's the butt.
Okay.
I'm just joking. I love you, bro.
And Chris is the Make-A-Wish kid that everybody feels sorry for.
Thank you, oh man.
Lose that olive you bite into on the sandwich. Like, who put this shit on there? Damn, that's nice.
Yeah,
all right, I got to get you back in order. Chris James.
But no, like, is Bama better off with Saban? Like Saban is the GOAT, man. Like, he's done things that never has been done before in the history of the game. So to say is Bama better off without Saban, I would say no. But like Dan always says, all good things must come to an end. You know what I'm saying? So just because it's coming to an end, that doesn't mean that what Bama is doing has to come to an end. It's just like fine tuning. It's just like y'all remember when the the first flat screens came out, but they had the big back to them. They had everybody wanted. They had the big screen TVs, but with the big back. Now you just got the straight flat screen TVs. It's always you can always adjust. You just have to adjust with the times. And I mean, Nick Saban, that the style, the way that he did things. It was going to be kind of hard to sustain that in this day and age where everybody's so money hungry, where it's all about me, me, me. What kind of deal can I get? What kind of blah 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 blah? And that is kind of the reason why he retired. Because it can be taxing. But to say if Bama's better, I don't think It's hard to say somebody's better than something's better than somebody that just did everything unimaginable. He's the GOAT. But does that mean Bama's hurting? No. They might not be better off with Nick Saban, but that doesn't mean that they can't be, just as good potentially, or or in good hands. Just leave like they're in good hands. But to say that it's better off, they'll be very disrespectful to Coach Saban.
Very, very well politically answered, Mr. James. We're gonna move it over to Ty and see if he can fire up the base with this question that's meant to incite a little more. Ty, you gonna take the bait on this one?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Listen, you're talking about a guy that not only won in the BCS, he won in the college football playoff era, he won in the transfer portal era, he has won at every single turn, and age got Saban. Nothing else. Age got Saban. So is Alabama better off with Nick Saban? No. However, let's get a little bit more nuanced into the conversation. The landscape of college football is changing, and I just left you with this idea that age got Saban. Well, we now have a coach that is off to an incredible start to his career, inherited a 4-8 Washington program, went 25-3, national championship his second year, a lot of guys to the NFL. And he understands this new era of college football. That's not to say that Saban didn't, but Alabama has made steps in making sure they will remain competitive. So is Alabama better off without Nick Saban? No, Nick Saban's the GOAT. However, that doesn't mean that Kalen DeBoer isn't better suited for the future of college football.
Great. Ty.
That is a great point. I can't wait to hop on a little bit later. But Ty, the main point you hit on is there's two things that are undefeated in life: Father Time and Hugh Freeze at a massage parlor. So, with that said, Matt, are you taking the bait?
I'm going to take the bait. And I'm going to say,
Matt.
I'm going to say to what Ty, I'm going to pick it back off what Ty says. Because Saban was getting older, up in age, Saban's the GOAT. You can't beat the GOAT, obviously. But I think Alabama, it was causing an issue in recruiting with, retirement coming up. When is he going to retire? How long are you going to be here? Negative recruiting, coaches using that against him, rumors going out of there. So I think that Alabama eventually had to get younger, and I think we got younger under the leadership of Greg Byrne with Kalen DeBoer. Now, you can't be better without Saban, but I think we got younger with the guy who's probably just as good as Coach Saban. And I think, like Ty alluded to, in the change of landscape of college football, NIL, transfer portal, you had to have somebody with, kind of that new age, nuanced mentality to know how to navigate this new way of college football for the future, college expansion, NIL, transfer portal. And I think we got the right guy for that. And the best thing about it, Saban's still employed by the University of Alabama. So Saban's kind of doing his mad sciences in the background, making sure he's getting DeBoer staff right. So you can't say that Bama's better without Saban because he's the GOAT. But I do think it was important that Alabama got younger. We kind of got rid of the elephant in the room, the R word. What's life going to be like without Saban when he eventually retires? Coach Saban went ahead and did it. We got the right guy, and now we're on to the future of college football. But luckily, we got Saban still there to kind of, still help manage everything and make sure DeBoer's going in the right direction. So,
hey, Petty,
I go what hit me, Chris.
I want to ask Matt this: what did he think about this? Did you think? With Saban being a GOAT, which means that he sees things happening before to kill? Do you think that do y'all think that DeBoer could have possibly been like the target the whole time? Like Saban knowing that he's about to retire, but they wanted to go ahead and pull the trigger on DeBoer before somebody else did.
Go back to the show on the Bama Standard when I was with Justin and them. Look, Vegas knew before anybody, and Vegas knows stuff because they got inside sources. Vegas had DeBoer up on the board when everybody was still talking about Lanning and everybody else. And people were like, no, we don't even want DeBoer at the time because they didn't know much about him. Yeah, I absolutely think Saban's brilliant, man. He knows the best coaches in this business. He knows what they can do.
I say yes because he tried to hire Ryan Grubb a year or two. About 2 years ago, he tried to hire Coach Shepard. And so he probably knew, like, man, that guy at Washington knows what he's doing. And the Coach Saban that I know, he studies the game like no other coach I've ever seen. Like, so he knows coaches that got really good systems, really good concepts, doing the best with less. And so to your point, Chris and Petty, I think DeBoer was the guy, for us in the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Man, and I think Matt, you made a good point, and this is how I want to throw it to Lou. Is Bama even really without Saban? Man is still in the building. Lou, I know this one really pulls on your heartstrings. So what you think, my man? Is Bama better without? I know he's not. I think I know where he may just bite the bait off and spit it in your face right now. Look at that.
I'm lightweight kind of salty at y'all because y'all just kind of took my thunderous kind of point I was going to make, but you didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and state it. We're talking about the greatest coach in the history of coaching. We're not talking about just a coach. We're talking about a student of the game of sports. Y'all hear me? This man has studied sports for a very long time to understand the level of athlete, the level they need to be pushed to, the level they can be pushed to, and what is expected of that athlete to get to the next level and be successful. So to answer this question, is Alabama better without Saban? We're not without Saban. Saban instilled something in this university that can never be forgone. It's never going to be killed. What Saban did at Alabama is immortal. So we're not without Saban. And it's not like he died. It's not like he went anywhere. He's still in the office somewhere in this back area. Wait, over here in my screen. He got an office.
Hey, Coach.
Coach. He right there. So we're not without him. But what Alabama did and what these guys already alluded to, see, he was a student of the game because that's how you get better. That's how you become elite. That's how you become immortal. Saban knew, because based off who his friends are, he's best friends with one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. What ended his dynasty? He knew that. What's ended everyone's dynasty? He knew that. He's a historian. He saw that. Like everybody said. I'm not so sure that Kalen DeBoer was the main target. What I'm going to say is Saban retired when he did for a purpose. Because retiring all of a sudden, even though it especially broke my heart on that day that it happened, it challenged everybody in the university, in the state of Alabama, even in the country, to just be like, Alabama without Saban. And then Kalen DeBoer happened. And then people started realizing in recruiting, especially the last couple months, that this Bama train might not be a train. Alabama is not a train. It's not a crown you could take. It is a mountain that you're going to have to climb. And you ain't doing that. Alabama is not ever without Saban, just like we're not without Bear, just not like we're not without anybody in our history. Our history helped build this mountain. And the thing is, when a volcano happens, the mountain gets bigger. And it's only going to get bigger. Because we're a mountain and we're growing. I'm going to tell you guys, Kalen DeBoer, he's about to teach college football a lesson. All these coaches we've mentioned, he's beat. And he beat with subpar talent. He didn't have an Alabama roster behind him. He was out at Washington. He didn't have this coaching staff. You know what I'm saying, guys? It's different. This league of extraordinary gentlemen that he's established at the University of Alabama with this talent, especially what he's bringing in. It's not special. It's spectacular. And this is year one. Year one, and people like Ty have said in other shows, they're already starting to realize, like, man, maybe Saban just should have kept coaching. Maybe we could have just, rolled that fossil into the grave. But no, guess what? That fossil is the greatest mind in athletics ever. He recognized that, and he said, you know what? To be immortal, you have to keep the program going. You don't want to be a distant memory like Miami or like Florida State or even Ohio State. You don't want to be a distant memory. To keep that mountain going, you have to keep the program on a positive level. So what did he do? He exited stage left a prime roster and a blueprint on how to do it. Roll daggum Tide.
Well,
Roll Tide.
From a man that's never short on words, Mr. Lou, to a man that apparently has the patience of Job for putting up with all the hooligans on this damn show. Dan, anything to add to this baited question in Alabama?
Yeah. The short answer to the question is no. Coach Saban, he was at the top of the mountain. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't going downhill. He was at the top of the mountain. So he just took him a little helicopter ride home. You know what I'm saying? But Alabama's not without Saban, like Lou said. He's still there. We still have him in tow. Now, the thing is, he left Alabama in a good spot. The Cover was nowhere near Bear. We're still at the top of the mountain. And what I look at it like this, Coach DeBoer. Alabama, we had to do something. What we're gonna do when Coach Saban retired? So okay, we needed to get younger. So with the coach, we checked that box. All right, how this coach with building the staff? He checked that box. Energizing the fan base, he checked that box. Recruiting, check that box. Media relations, check that box. In-game coaching, already proven, so that box checked. So we're left in real good situation, y'all. So is Bama better without Saban? No. Alabama is still Alabama. But Coach Saban took Alabama to new heights. And we just expect the same with Coach DeBoer, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, in a few years, 5-10 years from now, I expect it to be a third statue built, in Tuscaloosa.
Woo!
Yeah.
Again.
Hey, Petty.
Yo, you got something to add, Mr. Chris?
Yeah, right quick. Like I remember watching Game Day. It was out at Washington, and you remember. I think in Washington, Game Day comes on 9 Eastern.
Yeah.
So I think it was 6:00 in the morning at Washington, and it was dark outside, and their whole fan base was out there. And I remember watching them interview Kalen DeBoer. He came on or whatnot. And dude, I was impressed, man. I was very impressed with him. And I said, you know what? I said, this guy right here, he might have something going good at Washington. 4 months later, he's at Bama. So it's crazy.
There you have it.
You can see how things come in the full circle. I knew about him. That's why I wasn't, when people were talking about Kalen DeBoer, I was like, y'all, this man can coach football. I'm not worried. This man can coach football. I was impressed with him at Washington, just watching from a game day interview. And then from that right there, I kind of followed him. And Dan and I, we got to talking. He was like, dude, don't count out Washington against Texas. He was like, I like Washington. I think y'all may have been in the group chat, but he was like, I like Washington.
So there you have it. Former Alabama player Khyree Jackson answers the question. Yes, Alabama is better off without Nick Saban. Tweet that out right now. Quote it. He said it right there. All right. Look, I think we answered that as about as politically correct as possible. Maybe some people on this panel should be running for president versus what we got. But with that said, man, we got one more segment. Plus, I want to rapid fire this because there is something I want to bring up that a future guest of ours mentioned on his show that might spark a little interest. But our final, like I said, we're going to do a rocket fire. Everybody come on with your best matchups. We've talked serious stuff. Now let's talk a little hypothetical. GOAT matchups. Bama on Bama legends. Who would be the best Bama on Bama legend? And there's tons to choose from. Matchup and any from history. Let's start it out. We'll go in back to the reverse order and start with the main James, Mr. Dan.
Petty, can we do this 2 times around? Because I got at least 2.
Well, it depends on how quick fire we can do. It depends on how good Chris is.
Let's do 2.
Let's do 2.
All right, then you got to go quick, Dan. Let's hit it.
I'm gonna give you one. You know, it happened, but I didn't have the pleasure of seeing it. I'm gonna go Derrick Henry against Reuben Foster. I would like to see what those kids do.
The missile versus the tank. I love it. Lushan.
You know what?
Just too many.
Yeah. I can't even do it because I got too many favorite players. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I want to see PS2 Patrick Surtain II against the former Deuce.
Palmer.
Palmer and Surtain. Ooh, that's an interesting matchup. Like it, Lou. Like it, Lou. Matt, you've obviously got several lined up. Shoot me.
I got 2.
All right.
Derrick Henry versus D'Amico Ryans. I would like to see them meet in the middle. And my second one, prime Antonio Langham versus prime Julio.
Oh, yeah, baby. Now we're getting goats. That's Mount Rushmore shit. All right, let's go to my man Ty. I know he's probably got 27 matchups just in case we screwed him up.
No, I got just one, right? But it's gonna be one from each guy's already been named, but I'm just gonna give you a different matchup. Julio versus PS2.
I was wanting you to say
that.
Khyree Jackson versus Ozzie Newsome, but I'm just damn disappointed.
Hey, you gonna see flags, pass interference. I'm riding this back.
that
joker up.
Khyree Jackson, come on, man. I know you got it.
Hey, man, he ain't gonna burn me because I'm gonna be 20 yards off.
You gonna cag his ass.
P.I. pulling Roman Harper.
Just say Khyree Jackson versus Matt Caddell right now. That's the matchup we all want.
Matt used to embarrass me in one-on-one.
I want to see that. I want to see that.
Matt used to embarrass me in one-on-one. Can't put that on tape. Don't
let Chris fool you. Don't let Chris fool you. Athlete, he can do it all.
Matt was true. Hey, but the one I want to see, man, it's 2 of them. I want to see PS2 versus Amari Cooper.
Oh, you took my
that was one. And the second one was Andre Smith versus Derek Thomas.
Okay. All right. I love those.
He got 2.
I love those, Chris. You got 2, but you in your second one, you stole half of mine, but I like it. I'm gonna piggyback.
I want my second one.
Hold on, Lou. Let me go first in case you steal it.
All right.
I'll go one, and then I'll let Lou. You'll do second. But my one, I want to see Chris Samuels and Derek Thomas.
Ooh,
Chris Samuels is
legendary.
the best lineman to ever come through here, and Derek Thomas is the best defensive player.
That's nice.
Oh,
That's nice.
Lou, who you got, buddy?
I want to see Barrett Jones versus Quinnen Williams.
Oh.
I want to see a trench fight. I want to see Bears maul each other. That's what I want to see.
That chance Warmack and Payne then.
Nah, Deron different. Deron's like Ruben. Like there's certain dudes that just came through here that just weren't right in the head. And they showed that on the damn football field.
Chance Warmack wasn't right in the head either, was he, Dan?
No, he wasn't.
He
wasn't.
Yeah,
he wasn't. But Ruben and Deron, those two were on the same that was just not fair. And then you had Allen, like that defense was.
You'll get better matchups in practice than you would on Saturdays. That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
You be going up against a better offense all season.
What's your second one, Petty?
My second one would probably be Hightower versus Henry.
Woo!
Oh.
I want to see them two big bastards just bang heads because they were, man, I loved Hightower. He was probably, I know Upshaw, all those guys deservedly, Mosley get it, but Hightower, man, was probably my
Hightower Henry. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What you think, Dan? Your second one?
You talking about Derrick Henry, bro?
Let me give you my second one.
He embarrassed people in the league.
I'm gonna say Ozzie Newsome and George T.
Oh,
damn!
Ty, you gotta get your second one, Ty.
I just came prepared for the one.
just too much.
Come on now.
All right. I want to shift real
time.
quick. We've got a special guest coming up on the network. I actually found out tonight he's coming on quicker than our show. Tyler Siskey, who coached under Hugh Freeze at Ole Miss with Dave Womack and is a real close friend with Kane, the former current defensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. He also coached under one Mr. Nick Saban at Alabama. He is going to be on Saturday night talking with Bama, and then he's going to be on with us 2 weeks later on the 23rd. So, man, get your popcorn ready because that dude's got some stories. But he brought up something I want to bring to you guys. Look, this thing ain't – we talked about Texas and Oklahoma coming last week. He threw out the rumor on his show yesterday that possibly even within the next 7 days, we could be hearing that Clemson and Florida State will be the next additions to the SEC. What do y'all think? I want to do a quick runaround, guys. I know we got some heavy opinions. We'll go back in other order. Chris, what you think, man?
Clemson and Florida State. I can see Clemson in the SEC, but Clemson and Florida State, because Florida has that Florida market on. You think SEC, you think Florida, you think the Gators. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I would have rather kind of expanded into the Virginia market and got somebody like Virginia Tech. Because we already got the Tallahassee market, just by it being, Bulldog country / Gator country, it's in the middle of that. So I would have rather tapped into that Virginia market and grab like a Virginia Tech. And we already have the South Carolina market with South Carolina.
But I don't think markets matter anymore. I think, and I'm going to get, I get what you're saying because it used to be all about footprint, but I think we may be going in a different direction. And for that reason, Ty, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to skip you because I think you're going to give us less of the fan answer here and more of a diplomatic. So I'm going to go to Matt, then Lou, then Dan, then Ty.
Because it's true.
I wouldn't mind Florida State. I think that would be cool. Clemson, we already got enough Colts in the SEC. We got Auburn. I don't know what they do. I do not want Clemson in the SEC.
Prayer circles and massage parlors.
That would just annoy me. I love Dabo, but just to hear him going his Jets, that would just be. I'm just. Give me Florida State and like a Virginia Tech. I like that. I think that could be good. I like Blacksburg. I like Tallahassee. I'll take those two, or maybe in North Carolina.
Yeah. I love USC.
Leave Leave Clemson out. I don't know how you're going to get North Carolina without Duke. So
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of hard.
Selfishly, I'm with you on Virginia Tech because it would give me an excuse to go to Blacksburg on one Saturday night just to watch that damn Inner Sandman, and I might just jump up and down. It would be so tight. Lou,
Yeah.
What do you think about this rumor of? Because I think you let your feelings known last week that when we were talking Orange and everybody was expecting Tennessee and Auburn hate, Lou threw that curveball and went straight to Dabo up in Clemson.
Like when Matt just said he loves Dabo, like that just like how people say it's
I like
cringy,
Dabo he used to coach at Bama. That's what I know.
He was a wide receiver coach at that. Yeah. So
no.
The old
listen. The only reason I'm going to be happy about either of these two schools joining the SEC so we can impose our utter dominance and our foot on their throats for 4 quarters during a regular.
Preach.
You said foot on the throat and then horror music stuck in.
Right.
Well, that's somebody on the order
either.
That's somebody in the AME church.
That's a Methodist.
Pentecostal.
But I'm not taking anything away from Clemson or Florida State. They're both good programs, solid recruiting, weird uniform schemes. Clemson has weird cult habits, as Matt already said. Florida State, they're acceptable because they're really the only Florida school that doesn't have ugly uniforms. So I guess they can come in. But guess what? We already have a ugly maroon team that has a cultish nature in Texas A&M and Clemson. We already have orange teams that are just act stupid and just do weird things on the field to their opponents when they're down. So we really don't need you either. But I will welcome you guys into the SEC like I welcome Texas and Oklahoma, like I'll welcome anybody else in. Like I said earlier, you got to climb the mountaintop. And the more teams we add in, the more teams are just going to take hits on the chin. So when you get to play us, it's not like you're just souping up your entire season for, we have Alabama week 4, we have Alabama week 6. We can just take the whole season off and just get ready for Alabama. You can't do that if you're in our conference. Hate to tell you, you're going to have to prepare every week. So Clemson and FSU, hey, come to the jungle because we kings here, and we've been kings for years. Y'all done got beat by the Wolf Pack. Y'all got demon deacons you got trouble with. Like, come on, y'all. Like, yeah, come to the SEC and get beat down. I dare you.
They got Tar Heels.
You know what's going to happen? It's going to happen. Oh, the Tar, man, you know what?
They got
I don't want the Tar Heels or Duke. They can go up to play in the soft Big Ten. They don't deserve to be in the South.
They don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide. Dan, anything to add to Lou's vicious bring it on words?
So let me get this straight. So the ACC is gonna add Stanford and Cal and lose FSU and Clemson. That is utterly hilarious. You know that. I mean that's what group of 5. Will it even qualify as a group of 5 school?
What? No, it's not anymore. They're already calling it the A4.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Hey,
but and Matt, you know, you said getting into the North Carolina market, but you know you don't want to bring North Carolina without Duke. Just leave both of them. Just take NC State. You know, better football school. You know.
Hey Dan, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Go. How could it be called the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference? You got 2 Pacific Ocean teams.
Yeah, but see that's where they can change the name. Right. You know what I'm saying? They don't even have to. You know, they really don't have to change the name. You know, don't have to change the acronym. You know, just call it the American Coast Conference.
That's right.
You got teams on both coasts.
So when they travel to play over there in California, does that mean there'll be trouble in the LBC?
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Snoop.
Look, Ty, explain to us why this is the way it is. Why this rumor's hot and why it's a very likely possibility if
it's reality.
To quote Wu-Tang, Cash rules everything around me.
That's right.
Bill.
Clean. Dollar bill, y'all.
Hold on.
I had the pleasure of being able to sit down on Friday and talk to a gentleman at the Cigar Lounge who has done multiple Super Bowls, who has done multiple PGA events. He works in event management. And I asked him from his perspective, what do you think about the changing format of college football and playing playoff games in home stadiums? He gave an answer that, much like this, the fans probably won't like. But the fans aren't the ones making decisions in college football. What this gentleman told me is, why in the world are we doing that when we already have the infrastructure to do these massive bowl games and all of that is set in place? Hard to argue against that whenever you're thinking about this from a monetary standpoint. College football is changing. Teams want the biggest bag. They want more money. There are more eyes on the SEC than any other conference not named the Big Ten. That's why I think whenever we hear rumors that I don't think are rumors, that there are two conferences working against everybody else right now and working in the background because they understand that it's a viable future that there only be two conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. They're trying to absorb all of the major brands that they can while the going is still good. They're just at the forefront of this. College football is changing, and it's all because of cash.
Cash. Look, Ty couldn't have said it any better. And I think what people are really missing, added to this power conferences that are being built, there's two really big players in this. One's named ESPN and one's named Fox. I don't know if you've noticed, but Fox has their own Saturday show, and that's the Big Ten. So what are they going to do to try to get more interest where you're going to build your conference with the bigger names? I know we would love to have the Virginia Techs or whatever, but you can't lie. Right now, the bigger names right there are Florida State and Clemson. And when Florida State got left out of the playoffs last year, that was the death blow for the ACC. They were ready to get the hell on out. So it only makes sense that they're going to jump aboard. And look, give the Southeastern Conference at least credit. I know we're expanding. I know not everybody's a fan, but at least we're staying in the South. I mean, we go from Texas over. We're not pulling from California. It's not the whole freaking North from east to west. You know, Clemson, Florida State, those are still Southern schools. So it makes sense. And look, they're traditionally big name programs, whether you like it or not. And that's the way football is going. And again, this is an ESPN Fox deal, and ESPN's got the money. They're going to keep adding to the SEC with bigger guns. So she's going to make more. Here comes the college NFL. But
well, I don't know about bigger guns.
A lot bigger. Yeah. Well, you know, some pistols and some size, you know,
some medium subpar.
Some medium-sized guns. Sorry, Lou, man. I didn't want to step on that. But look, guys, man, great show tonight with the Avengers. I'm going to promote all our other socials real quick, or all of our other shows. Then we'll get to our socials. Tomorrow night, Crimson Dynasty. I think Sishi might be. Is that no go to Justin? Is Sishi? Are we doing that one tomorrow?
I don't think so.
Well, that all depends on the superstar that is the Dan James coming up with some topics with his wonderful associate Hannah Stevens. So right now it's to be announced, but we have George.
Dan,
T.
I got your back.
TBA.
George T is going
Crimson
to
Dynasty at 6:30. But yeah, don't miss. Right. Hey, George Teague, if you didn't know, every Wednesday night at 8:15, he spends the first 30 minutes of the show how to properly run down Lamar Thomas' ass and take the ball from him. And then after that, he talks some really cool shit. So tune in to George Teague, who, good God, if you're not tuning in, he's the biggest freaking legend that come on, man. His show's amazing. He had Antoine Randall, or who was it? The last week
he has Seneca Wallace on there.
Seneca Wallace, yeah.
Listen, guys, folks in the audience, if you've not yet tuned in to Teague Steak, other than him being a legend, he brings something to the table that no other show on this network does, and that's in-depth film study. So he's breaking down every aspect of the game and giving it to you how things really are on the field as they happen before you. So you definitely want to talk to whoever is right next to you and say, hey, you need to jump onto this, and because this is a big deal. So y'all check that out.
I watch every week. And
then on Saturday nights when you're done grilling out, you've had a few cocktails. Hey man, Saturday night's talking Bama at 8:30 Central, and found out, like I said, I was all excited. I got Siskey lined up for the show, and my boys are working hard. They got Siskey lined up Saturday night. So we're going to get 2 taste of Mr. Tyler Siskey and his awesome Bama story. So you do not want to miss that on Saturday night. It is going to be a banger of a show. So look, man, as always, tune into the Bama Standard. It's going on, man. Get all your Bama stuff plus a little bit more right now in the off season. We're talking a little bit of everybody. So all you other fans come in and we'll talk trash about you or maybe talk some good stuff about you. But with that said, another great night. Tune into the network. Hit that like button, subscribe, and follow our cast. I'm going to start. Dan James, tell us how we follow you, sir.
Man, you can follow me on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I'm highly super duper active on Twitter, I guess. But also, you know, catch me every Tuesday night right here on this channel, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. The final whistle with my cast of Avengers. Wednesday nights, Crimson Dynasty with my co-host CC Payne and Hannah Stevens. And you know, other than that, y'all be safe. Kiss your loved ones, hug them, enjoy every moment with them, because you never know when your time will come.
That's right.
There's only one life, and it soon shall pass, and only what's done for Christ will last. Remember that.
Hey, man, brother Dan.
Doors of the church are open, everybody.
Woo! Preach it, brother, man. We take a turn for the amens and the Lord gonna rise. Let's all right, Chris, tell us where to find you.
You can find me in the A. Oh, okay. Oh,
now we just took a turn from the amen.
Now we went from the church to the streets.
Dan is my yin to my yang, or however they say it.
It looks like you can find him in Miss Eunice's house. Just in that background
with them curtains.
I'm in my boys' room, man.
Did she could eat some collard greens and some neck bones?
Yeah, man. I'm in my boys' room.
Some butter beans.
Now, crock pot gizzards, the nasty. I recommend that for nobody. but Tennessee and Auburn fans, crock pot gizzards for you guys. You can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr., on Twitter at Coach Chris James, and you can find me on Instagram at final_Wilson_Chris. And every Tuesday night, you can find me here with the best cast in America. Well, not only America, the best cast in the world. Like
in the world
right here are awesome, man. You got
probably the universe.
In the universe, man. You got you got to say universe of using Avengers. So the universe. But it was a great night with you guys, man.
Yeah, always, Mr. Chris. Ty, Mr. I think you're on. Like, do you go off the video? Just tell us where we can tune in for the 24-hour Ty Network.
No, this is hour number 3 or 4 for me live straight right now. So you can catch me at Around the Table Sports, always talking football.
There you go. Always talking football. My man, Lushan, where can we find you, sir, when you're not busting heads?
I mean, when I'm not under contract, you can find me on X or Twitter, however, it depends on what decade you was born in, at Roloose21. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lucian Graves. We always talking something. You might even see a couple articles coming from me. I'm feeling inspired, and I'm going to put the pen and pad, so be ready for that. Most importantly, guys, find me here every Tuesday night, getting rowdy with my brothers dressed in crimson avenging style in that crimson and white, talking about the greatest football team in the greatest state in the greatest country in the world. That's Alabama, y'all. You might be able to find me some other spots, but you might have to have a satellite phone and some government clearance for that. But that's another story.
Now to my man Matt, I know where I can find him lately because every time I've been trying to get my massage appointments, you know, he's got them booked out. Outside of the parlor booking department, where can we find you, Mr. McDowell?
Listen, you can find me here on the Final Whistle every Tuesday night with my rowdy group of Crimson Avengers, Ty, Dan, Patty, and Lushan, the greatest group of characters. But You can find me on Twitter, mcadell11. I just want to shout out the chat. I saw some Ohio State fans. Obviously, Chris Williams, the Auburn fan there is. Guys, bring more folks into the final whistle. Glad to have y'all in the chat. Y'all are rock stars.
He still hasn't brought a fan. They're still waiting for Chris Williams to bring another Auburn fan.
He is the Auburn fan. He is the
I know there was only 3,000 people at that spring game, but I mean, there's has to be 2,299 number of people.
Lou, you know what the problem is? The problem is he put up our web, the final whistle link at the football stadium. Ain't nobody at that damn thing. If he would have done it at the massage parlor, we would have a crap load of Auburn fans in this thing right now.
Yeah, but see, I thought you were going to say that they might have had it at the football stadium. They might not just been able to read it and enter in their cell phones properly. But that's a different story. They only learn how to like put paper on trees and cows. FarmersOnly.com.
They had the Farmers Only FarmerCon.
Yeah, put it on FarmersOnly.com first, Chris, and then we'll get loaded up on the Auburn fans.
All you got to do is write it on toilet paper. Write it on toilet paper.
FarmersOnly.com will get us Auburn fan. Dudes cheerleaders are us. Catch us at A&M. Butt chugging beer will get us the Tennessee Nation. Grown men barking down the road will get us them Georgia folks. We and just do this, and then we'll get banned by that.
What'll get us AML fans? Petty, what'll get us AML fans?
Dudes cheerleaders are us. Or we like milkmen outfits.
Petty, how many schools can we add that have checkered like corduroy outfits? FSU, Clemson, Tennessee, Texas A&M. Like, we're adding a really, really diversity to the Southern Conference. I love it.
It is
outstanding.
Getting them Tennessee pictures that came out lately. The Colt just growing, right?
I'm not really sure what was going on with that one linebacker that was giving spirit fingers and taking cheerleading pictures in football pads. But hey, if that's what you guys want to do, Bobby Hill up in Tennessee and them checkered orange corduroys, that's fine.
Hey,
dude, when you put that funnel up to the backside and take 6 beers, you ain't never know what kind of pictures you're gonna take.
That's Mike Gundy.
Hey, can y'all imagine a Tennessee and Clemson game? Ugh.
God. That's the ugliest thing on the planet. You have
might be the end times.
Orange. That might be the apocalypse.
All right, guys. I'm getting the hook from our big guy. I'm Daniel Petty. They let me lead the show tonight. Bless all y'all souls. Y'all can catch me on X at Petty_Daniel. Y'all can catch me on Facebook at Petty. You can catch me on the podcast. My Mom Thinks You're Dumb. I think we might be recording later tonight or sometime. They do the late night.
I want to get on that.
Lou, you want to be on? Trust me, you will be on My Mom Thinks You're Dumb. You are the next guest on that show.
Yes.
Also, hey, I've got Lou was talking about articles. I got an article coming out. It will start off. I'm gonna touch on Bama, but my articles are going to be more SEC centric. So it's going to be taking kind of my humor and my view around the SEC. It should be coming out in the next week or two. But check that out. But man, the main thing every Tuesday night with my Avengers, I know. This is my disguise. I'm usually Deadpool, but tonight I'm a merman. But hey, man, every Tuesday night with the baddest dudes on the planet. How do we end this thing, guys?
On those 2 words.
2 words. Roll Tide.
Blitz.
Don't give a piss.
Make Alabama great again.
Man, make it.